Hey, how you guys doing? My name is Javier. I'm the founder of Replenish Nutra. We are an evidence-based mushroom company, and our main focus is helping cancer patients manage the side effects of conventional cancer care, whether that be chemo, radiation, amongst other types of care that's out there now. I kind of wanted just to go into the mission, the core goal, and the agenda of Replenish Nutra, how it began, and when where we are now and where we're headed in the future. I would say I subconsciously the seed was planted to do something in the healthcare industry. My knowledge or background actually comes out of the political arena, and not in terms of like running for office or anything like that. Actually, what I think is my advantage is actually was being a door canvasser. I When was it? It was about 2021, where they shut everything down. I was going to West Virginia University. Obviously, we switched to online classes, but after a while of doing work in your dorm room, you are naturally just going to be bored or sidetracked, and that's exactly what happened to me. My good friend Connor, he had a job. I believe it's a third party. They're like a third party service for political campaigns and politicians. So essentially, what this company does is they supply the politician door canvassers, pamphlets, cold callers, yard sign distribution, things like that, where it allows them to focus on the core mission, news press campaigns, and things like that. So yeah, I was actually down in Georgia, the suburbs outside of Atlanta. I believe Alpharetta is the place for two politicians by the name of Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. So that was, they paid me $1,000 a week, paid for my hotel, paid for my rental car. So it's kind of a no-brainer for a college kid. Yeah. So after about a week of knocking on doors, I began to realize that people don't want people knocking on their doors talking about politics during a very divisive time. So I definitely got that message real quick. So obviously I had a job to do. We had like a little app, monitor doors we knocked on. So I just decided to really talk to people about life. Really, I'm like, hey, how'd you get this job, or what do you think about the current state of America right now? And to my amazement, it was my first like personal polling of American, I guess American ideology, which to my knowledge now is for the most part a little separated from what people that are in front of you on TV telling you. But back to the point. Across all demographics, races, religions, I was in wealthy suburbs, middle class. I was in impoverished areas, and healthcare seemed to be a topic that everyone was concerned about, which was kind of interesting to me. It kind of piqued my curiosity because this was like one unifying, I guess, factor that brought everyone together, and everyone collectively had some form of issue with the healthcare system or noticed something that should be fixed with the healthcare system. And again, the healthcare system isn't all bad, right? There's good things that come out the healthcare system. There's innovations. There's progress. There's new drugs. Yes, we all understand it, and we are all appreciative of it. But what really kind of planted the seed in the back of my mind was when people were talking about the financial distress, the medical debt, the misinformation in some ways, things not being explained to them in person but being explained in fine print on receipts, things like copay accumulator bills, just outright immoral profiteering. I would say that's the correct language, I feel, is to describe what that is. And mainly when it comes down to cancer patients, right? It's probably the worst time of their life, and then they're expected to become a financial expert, medical expert, life expert, and obviously it hits everyone at different times. And obviously that vulnerability allows for I would call people who want to take advantage and profit off of a situation without actually helping is kind of what led me down the road to start Replenish, quite frankly. I'm not against pharmaceuticals. I'm not against, prescription drugs, obviously. Like if I got a pneumonia, I'm going to want to take and will take antibiotics and things like that. So this isn't like a crusade against, the pharmaceutical industry. But what it is opening a door to a new way, letting the medical professionals who probably already know, but it's more about letting the consumer of products to increase health or prevent health or cure diseases, that there is an effective way and there's another way, and that comes in the form of natural medicine. And I read a little bit both sides of why they may not be widely accepted into the mainstream healthcare. The constant answer is there's just not enough evidence, right? Or there's not enough data, clinical trials, which in some aspects I believe is done on purpose by people who release fundings for certain research projects and things like that, because I do understand that there was or is a report called the Flexner report. You should look up the Flexner report. So there are silos, I understand, in the healthcare industry, and I think everything is slowly moving towards democratization. So obviously the information age is a democratization of information. The music industry was democratized in terms of Apple creating Apple Music, Spotify, the streaming services. So there are things that are heading towards democratization. I do believe the last two things that really haven't been democratized in the way that we would appreciate would be the financial banking industry and the healthcare industry, for obvious reasons of profits that are incomprehensible in some ways. But at this point, it's really getting to a point where people are just dying. People are getting misled. People are funding institutions to get, certain drugs approved. There's misinformation. There's data skewed to look like certain things for other things to get approved and passed. And it's really all about creating companies and profiting and people having their own personal agendas. Don't get me wrong. There's drugs that work, obviously. And then with AI and data, and there's a lot of good things, but I believe that things are neutral, right? So if you put something that's material in someone's hands, they can use it for good or bad. For example, a car. A car can be used to save someone's life, or a car can be used to rob a bank. And that's what I believe is happening in the healthcare industry. It's just the heart of certain people that are in control of upholding the system are not turned toward the how do I say this? They're not turned in a way where the patient comes first. And I believe there are certain group communities they really care and they want to make a difference. There's plenty of books on Amazon. There's plenty of documentaries pointing out the loopholes, pointing out the dead spots in the system and things that are unfair in the system. But I think that now we're at a point where we have to introduce another set of products that work, that are evidence-based, and that are effective to the consumer, which happens to be the person who's in need of care. And I think it starts with education, which many of you guys would probably agree with me. And then I also think it's just going to start with going a different way of independent trials, independent clinics, which is really the first step into decentralizing this whole system. Is it going to be a little bit harder? Yes, I agree. Are naturopaths, are they going to get the funding for the clinical trials? Probably not. But it has to start somewhere. and I believe medicinal mushrooms, with the data that we already have in terms of clinical trials, clinical research, in terms of them being already added in the pharmacopoeias of Japan and China, in terms of cancer patient testimonials of them taking medicinal mushrooms and them having the increase of quality of life, clinical trials that have shown the increase of quality of life while taking these mushrooms. And it's really the bioactive compounds in these mushrooms, like the beta-glucans that come in different structures in different mushrooms, the multi-system effects that they have on the patient or on the human body. I believe that's the first advantage we have. I think that's the first gateway to allowing natural medicine to really be mainstream in terms of allowing people to have another solution. I don't like using the word alternative because that compartmentalizes it in people's minds, and it already ranks it lower than conventional care, which is, in my opinion, it's just domain discourse, people controlling narratives through different words and phrases. But in actuality, if it's evidence-based, which it is, if it has clinical backing, which it does, and it has clinical research, which it does, I don't understand why we can't integrate this into mainstream oncology care. So what we've done at Replenish is compile the fragmented research. We've conducted a literature review, and what we've come to the conclusion is there needs to be a standardized method across the board when introducing this into mainstream oncology care. So that comes from a standardized sourcing method, a standardized extraction method, quality control method, and in order to get, I wouldn't say a fixed rate of potency or bioavailability, but it needs to be at a rate where therapeutic effects are felt through this standardized way of, sourcing, cultivation, extraction, quality control, manufacturing, and things like that. And that's exactly what we're spearheading here at Replenish, is commercializing through standardization, which allows for therapeutic benefits across the board for cancer patients. And also, we think the formula is very important. It's not just put together compounds from here, stick them together in a capsule and give them to cancer patients. Like, no, that's not how it works. It needs to be rooted in clinical studies. Obviously, it needs to be tested, fail fast, validated learning, iteration, innovation, incorporate AI to help with the formulation and the R&D process. So, like, when we're working on all those things at Replenish, and we understand that those things must form at the right time. But we firmly believe that these medicinal mushrooms, when handled properly and with the proper execution with the data, can really change cancer patients' lives in a natural and affordable and safe way. But obviously, we need help, right? I'm an entrepreneur. We have oncology researchers, UX, UI engineers, designers, but we're nothing without an audience. We're nothing without you guys, right? And we want to incorporate medical professionals because we really want this to be a group effort. I believe the more minds, the more diversity of thought, the more cultures, the more perspectives we have, the better we can make this product for cancer patients. And we believe in this direct-to-consumer model as kind of as a nonverbal communicative signal to the healthcare system that it's time to allow patients to really have freedom of choice and access to certain medications. Like, we understand that there's insurance gatekeeping, like, the list goes on, and we understand that. But at some point, we have a birth rate declining. I mean we have to save lives at some point. We really have to, this is going to be ironic how I talked about my political background, but at some point I believe that we do just have to remove politics from things, and we just have to save lives. And it's going to come through prevention, obviously, And then at some point it's just going to come to like, people knowing what's best for them, and then supplying that product for them in an affordable way. So even though they may get better, they're not bankrupt, and then they have an economic crisis, which causes stress, sickness again. So it's just freeing these people from a cycle that's made to profit from them at every single turn. And look, I am for capitalism. I understand people have to make money. I want to make money. Everyone wants to make money. We need money to live. This isn't an anti-capitalist rant speech. This is just acknowledging that there's more people dying and getting sick than the opposite. And it's because the system is perpetuating it, subconsciously or consciously. But subconsciously or consciously doesn't matter if people are dying. And people are profiting off people dying, and keeping you sick is making people more wealthy. I believe that you can get wealthy by helping people stay healthy. Now that's a good slogan. But yeah, so that's a little bit of a piece of my head. That's where's Replenish headed? Right now we're headed towards advanced absorption techniques for these medicinal mushrooms. We understand that every cancer patient is in a different physiological state, so their absorption methods, in terms of how their immune system is and things like that, may be different from one patient to another. So what we're currently working on and worried about is the bioactive compounds being destroyed in the gastrointestinal tract and then not being as effective. So we do understand that, and that's what we're researching. Different type of nanoparticles, nanoparticle designs, nanotechnology, the whole 9 yards. So yeah, if you guys are kind of like what I said, or you understand where I'm coming from, or maybe you kind of get the picture better than I get the picture. We would love to connect. We would love to hear your ideas, or maybe you have information, maybe just passing along information, because that's how the information age starts, just passing on information that would help us in our innovation and in our advancement in this journey, in this agenda of bringing medicinal mushrooms into mainstream integrative oncology care, and helping patients heal in a natural way. Feel free to reach out to us. We have a free e-course on our website. We have a free anonymous form. If you're a medical professional, you can take that. If you're a cancer patient or a cancer survivor but you still have chronic side effects, we also have a form you can fill out, because we really want to make this product patient-centered with medical professional insight as well, and really give that spark back to natural medicine and bring it to the commercial forefront, and start a new frontier. Again, this isn't like replacing pharmaceuticals, but I think the balance is what's going to make us more healthy as a nation, more innovative as a nation, and open up a new door for more innovations and inventions. So again, thank you for listening to me. If you've been here for 18 minutes, I do appreciate it, and I'll probably be speaking on here more, because this is fun. It really is. I like talking and expressing ideas because it helps me get my innovative mind going. So thank you. I appreciate it.